How's it going, Critter Family? Hope you all are doing well. Today we are going over a video by Joel Beckman of Beckman's Dog Training. Ellie is squeaking in the background. He says, it's your soft, weak attitude that allows your dog to walk all over you, and it needs to stop. Or technically he said, it need to stop. So that is his opinion, that people have a soft, weak attitude. He would probably say that I have a soft, weak attitude because I don't use aggressive, unnecessary techniques, in some cases abusive, in my opinion. You know, he can be abusive when using a head halter on a dog and popping them at the end of their leash. I think that's very dangerous and very aggressive and very unnecessary and cruel. But he would probably say that he probably has already said that before, that I am soft and weak. What's the matter? Come here. Come here. But just because I use positive reinforcement and I don't shove a dog in the face with my knee, or I don't, pop them at the end of their leash to teach them to walk, that doesn't mean that I am weak by any means. Don't misunderstand that because I choose to not use his methods that I am weak. Let's just see what he has to say.
I go wham, and I clap and I yell as hard as I can until the dog goes, holy, and they go, ah, because no one's ever done that.
Well, no one ever needs to do that.
I came to the facility to try to make a video, and my trainer said, the dogs aren't doing the wrong things because you're in the mix, Joel. It always happens, she says. So,
well, first off, I'm going to say beautiful dogs in the background, very, very cute dogs. Of course, I'm always distracted by dogs. I need a t-shirt that says that. They make t-shirts that say easily distracted by dogs. But you don't need the dog to do the wrong thing so you can correct it. Just take out the middleman and reward them when they're not doing the wrong thing. So that's great. It's not great that his presence being there stops the dogs from doing unwanted behavior, because that shows how he trains and how intimidating and forceful he is with the dogs. But if you are working with a dog, you don't need to set them up for failure. That means that you are failing in training and failing the dog. That doesn't mean you are a failure of a trainer. Don't take it personal. That doesn't mean I'm saying you're a failure of a person or you're a failure at all. I'm saying you're failing at training your dog because you're not training the best that you can be. You're not being the best that you can be. You're not using your full potential that I think anybody is capable of. Even Joel here, I think he's capable of it, but I think he's just too lazy and too spoiled and too controlling of a person to be able to use positive reinforcement in a way that actually works. Allie, come here.
I thought, I'm going to talk about energy with YouTube people. What is energy? It's the way you move, it's the way you look at the dog, but I think what comes first is attitude. It's before energy. It's the way you think. It's how you think.
So he already sounds very confusing and very controlling in the way that he's talking about, like confusing in the sense of, okay, you got to do these steps here. You got to make sure you have attitude, and then you got to have pressure, and you got to have whatever it was he said, energy. You got to have energy and I call it pressure, but you have energy and you have attitude comes before this, and then this comes before this, and this big, and it's just all these steps of just being over controlling that I think that people too often will get confused by all these steps. Just work with your dog. Just be yourself and work with your dog the way your dog understands. Dogs understand consequences and reward. You don't have to use consequences in the sense that he's using consequences, corrections and whatnot, in the way that he is using them. You can use withholding a treat, withholding a ball, withholding love and attention from your dog as a correction. If your dog is asking for attention and they're jumping up on you because they want attention, if I have a dog that jumps up on me, I'm going to turn my back to them. I'm going to step away from them. If they continue to jump and they continue to follow me and they continue to put holes in my shirt and they're nipping and jumping, then I'm going to put a leash on them. And I'm going to either tether them somewhere so I can get away. If they're 6 feet away, I'm going to stand 6.5 feet away. So I'm 6 inches away from them, or maybe I'll stand 2 feet away from them or 3 feet away. It just depends until They are calm. When they are calm, then I will approach again. If they jump up again, I'm going to step away again. Or I might put them, if you don't want to tether them, you can put them behind a baby gate, behind a fence, behind a door, in another room, wherever else you want to put them. Just put them somewhere where they cannot get to you. Tethering works really, really well, especially with the dog on a harness. I don't ever tether them. Oh my gosh, Ellie's going crazy. I don't tether them on their collar. I tether them on a harness. Of course, he never likes to use harnesses. He likes to use head halters. He likes to use regular collars so he can pop a dog and hurt a dog. But you don't need to use all this controlling energy. He likes to follow Cesar Millan. Cesar Millan is all about energy. If you want to talk about energy, then yeah, I have a very calm energy when I work with dogs. If I have a dog that has a very high energy, then I don't care that the dog has high energy. As long as they're not being crazy and disruptive or destructive, then that's fine with me, that they're a happy, slappy dog. If I need them to bring their energy down, then I will work with them in teaching them and training them alternate behaviors that are not jumping, not barking, not lunging, not all this and that. But I don't need to bring their energy down by being forceful.
About your dog, it's how you think about the behavior. It's what you will put up with and what you won't put up with. And it has to be fundamental to you. You have to know what you're going to do, what you're going to accept when you walk into the house. When I walk into the house with jumping, the dog cannot jump. The two paws cannot touch me. And if they do, and the dog is over a year old...
So that was aggressive and unnecessary. The dog looks like they were a little bit excited and they started humping, not just, jumping. They looked like they were humping. So I don't like a dog to hump me either. My knee-jerk reaction, literally his knee-jerk reaction is to do that. My knee-jerk reaction is to just take the dog's leash and just pull them away from myself, or put my hands on their little paws and push them down, like gently put them down on the ground. For a small dog. For a larger dog, I'm not going to turn my back. If they're trying to hump me, they're just going to be able to continue to hold on to my leg. If I have a humper, which is irritating, which the dog can't help, they're just excited, I just work on tethering them again, or I'll put them in another room, or I work on, okay, are they doing this because they're excited, or are they doing this because it's a sexual need they're trying to satisfy, they're coming into their hormones. They have testosterone running through their body and they need to be fixed. Or they don't need to be fixed, but it's going to take a little bit, longer to teach them not to hump. It's going to be, you're going to kind of be fighting a little bit of an uphill battle, but I'm not one of those people who says you need to fix your dog, like as in neuter them or spay them. You can do, as long as you are responsible, you can keep your dog intact for as long as you'd like with me. Just make sure that you're responsible. You're not having unwanted litters and puppies and all that stuff.
There's hell to pay.
There's hell to
That
pay.
may be mean to you.
If a dog jumps on him, there's hell to pay. So that shows how aggressive he is and how unnecessarily cruel he is to dogs, that there's hell to pay. The way he says it, the words that people use are very important to pay attention to. If a dog jumps on me, there's no hell to pay. I'll just turn my back. If they're jumping and nipping at me, it makes me a little more irritated, but I'll just take them and I'll just tether them somewhere, or I'll put them in another room. There's no hell to pay with me.
I don't know. I don't care.
And that's just it. He doesn't care about anything, about anyone but himself. What he wants, his opposable thumbs and his power and his control. He only cares about himself and what he wants.
Because the behavior is going to go away very quickly. If I do any other soft approach, the behavior may not go away ever.
No, that's false. Well, maybe with him, it might not ever go away because he doesn't know how to use positive reinforcement. I know how to use positive reinforcement to get the behavior to go away and stay away. You have to be consistent, but it's not going to be a one-time, once and done. It's going to be consistent where every time you have somebody over, the dogs will not jump on him, but they'll jump on other people. I guarantee it. But the dogs, and just like with me, the dogs may not jump with me, but they're going to jump on other people. So unless you teach those other people, or you're consistent with making sure your dog is on leash, if you have a guest coming over and you have your dog on leash, your dog is not going to be able to jump on the guest unless you allow your dog to get close enough to the guest to jump on the guest. If you have your dog on leash and you have them stand, 4 feet away from the guest, at all times, or 2 feet away from the guest at all times, or when they go to sniff the guest, you make sure to keep them on leash so that way when they try to jump, you can bring them down to 4 feet on the floor. When your dog has 4 feet on the floor, continue to reward that. It's a process, not an event. You're not going to get there overnight with me. With him, I mean, you could kick your dog in the face, you could step on their toes, you can, knee them in the chest, you can do whatever you want. You can push them down and make it a game. You can be aggressive and cruel and straight up abusive if you want to, if you really want to, be nasty and cruel to your dog. Or you can use positive reinforcement, which is, in his eyes, a softer, weaker attitude, which to me is not soft or weak. It is actually a much stronger approach because you get behaviors that last, that you don't have to be cruel, and controlling with your dog. You can be kind and you can be understanding and you can be respectful of your dog.
You have to make a choice. You want the behavior to go away or do you not?
So he says that he's basically saying positive reinforcement is a failure. That if you use anything lesser than the way he teaches, it's not going to go away. So he's saying his is the only way. That's what I hear him saying. His is the only way to get the behavior to go away. So you have to be cruel. You have to be harsh with your dog. You have to be, in my opinion, disrespectful to the dog in order to get the behavior to go away. And then how fast do you want the behavior to go? It doesn't matter how fast you want it to go away. You're on dog time. It's how fast it takes your dog to understand and how consistent you are to get the behavior to go away.
Did a trainer tell you you can toss treats on the ground and it'll go away? Great, do it.
I don't think that's a good technique to use, period. I don't think by dropping treats on the ground you're going to really stop any behavior. But that's his go-to. He says, okay, if you want to, just go ahead and just drop some treats on the ground. And that's like the one time he heard it from a trainer, or for somewhere, or he just made it up himself and just pulled it out of a hat and said, oh yeah, sounds like something a trainer, who uses positive reinforcement might use. Ellie. And that was his one go-to to thinking that that's how all positive reinforcement training works, period. Just toss treats on the ground. That is not how positive reinforcement even works. And that is not a technique that I or many other people that I know would ever use to stop a dog from jumping.
This channel right now because it didn't work. When your dog freaks out on a leash, that is unacceptable to me.
His behavior with this dog is unacceptable to me. This dog is not ready to be in this store. If this dog has to lip lick,
than jumping. So guess what? My walk starts when the leash comes out.
That was unacceptable to me, to treat any dog like that. To be grabbing them, kneeing them in the face, dragging them, holding them by the collar. That is unacceptable to me. The dog was just excited by something. They're a bird dog. They're a vizsla. They are excited by movement. Maybe it saw a bird. Maybe it saw a dog or a person or a cat or something else. And it was excited. Then I would just walk the other direction. I don't need to go and drag that dog towards me and hold them by their collar.
Out of the drawer. That dog's excited.
This dog over here is digging and eating something, and he's not even paying attention. Nobody's paying attention to this dog over here digging because he's too busy talking to the camera.
Not an excitement thing. Grab the dog, sit him down. Maybe I'll wait till they calm down. Okay, get your wiggles out. No problem. I get it. And then when I start to reach down to you, you jump, you run around. No, that's not the way this thing works. This leash is not an excitable thing, or you got no shot out in the world.
Why can't it be an excitable thing? Why shouldn't they be excited that the one time or the two times, if they're lucky, they get out of the house and they actually get to get their energy out and they get to expand their energy and they get to stretch their legs and do all this and have some fun and actually sniff and do what they're, instead of being cooped up in the house. Why shouldn't they be excited? Now, I don't want them dragging, biting the leash or playing tug with the leash or anything like that. If that happens, then I'm going to drop the leash when they let go of it, or I'll tell them drop it. Then if they understand drop it, then I'll take the leash and I'll put it back in the drawer, or I'll put it back up on the hook or wherever it goes. And as soon as they calm down, I'll take it out again. They get super excited again to where they're playing with it again. I'm going to put it back away. If I take it out and they're more calm, if that's what you're looking for and they're calm, then you can leash them up. I'm not going to grab them and jerk them and pop them into a sit and grab them aggressively. I'm not going to do that. That is just totally unnecessary and cruel, in my opinion. Totally unnecessary.
leash reactivity is a frustration behavior. It's a pent up behavior. Because
Leash reactivity is also most commonly, from what I've experienced, most commonly based off of fear, not just pent up energy. And they have pent up energy because they have pent up energy because you force them to be by your side on a walk. You don't allow them to sniff. You don't allow them to walk at their own pace and enjoy the world that's in front of them. You don't allow them to sniff or look at things or take in, their environment. You don't allow them to do any of that. So that's why they have all this pent up energy.
you never calmed them early, and you want more information or tons of videos, tons of lives every week, and you have an aggressive dog, people aggressive, dog aggressive, leash reactive. I have the Beckman aggression program.
Well, I don't agree that you should watch his program. I think that's he solves fire by using fire. He puts out a fire he uses fire for fire. He just uses aggression towards an aggressive dog, and a dog that is aggressive or more like reactive is usually based off of fear or pent up energy, as he said. It's just the unknown, or they're fearful because they don't know. It's like they see a lion coming towards them when there's an off-leash dog. They don't know that that's just, a totally fine dog. They could have been attacked before. They may have never been attacked. They may just not have been very well socialized.
Professional dog trainer and learn.
All right, move on.
Every week they probably. And I'm not saying this stuff is easy. And lives every week. I'll put the link in the description for the Beckman coaching program. And I'm not saying this stuff is easy, but you have to have a basic attitude about why a dog is doing something and what you're going to do about it. And if you go overboard, that's okay.
No, of course it's okay. He's going to excuse himself being abusive as that's okay. You went overboard. Anything above what is necessary is abusive. Are you capable of having a serious attitude in order to eliminate the behavior? So he means you need to be aggressive, you need to be abusive, you need to be cruel, you need to be unnecessarily cruel to solve your dog's problems. If you want to be like him, then be aggressive like him. God, this guy is just such a sad man. And that people listen to him. He says, you came here because it didn't work before. So you have to be unnecessarily cruel. Are you capable of being cruel and downright nasty to your dog in order to stop the behavior? Are you willing to ruin the relationship with your dog in order to solve a behavior problem? Your dog may act perfect, great, but you have no relationship with them.
Trying to get rid of the behavior. Too many people, everybody who owns dogs right now, and they're trying to get rid of a behavior. They go underboard.
Beautiful dog right here.
Which is not a word.
Turvuden? Or some kind of shepherd of some sort, but beautiful.
But overboard is. But they don't do enough. You're going to put the leash on in your house, put it on. Once you get the leash on,
this dog is so cute. Ouch.
Where's the dog going? Why is the dog going to the door?
This is totally unnecessary. You don't even need to do that. The dog wasn't even pulling. The dog was following the camera person, backing away, creating a draw for the dog. And then you go and pop him. Now, when I say ouch, it's my instinct of the timing of the correction. It doesn't necessarily mean the dog says ouch, but it's uncomfortable enough for the dog to listen.
You're not going to the door. Where's
Why not?
The dog going? You put the leash on and the dog's taking you to the door? It's
Ouch.
Not a dominance thing. Dog being in front of you is not dominance. Has
Thank
nothing to
you.
do with dominance.
Thank you for saying
where
that.
Where the hell are they going?
But he is acting dominant here in this case. Look at the dog's whale eyes. Look at the long lips. The whale eyes are the whites of the eyes showing. This is a sign of anxiety. This floppy tongue here is what I talk about when a dog is overstimulated by either 5 minutes of training aggressively, like how Beckman does, or 25 minutes of running. This is a floppy tongue from 5 minutes of working aggressively where the dog is so overstimulated, the dog is stressed. The dog can be tired and have a floppy tongue and kind of stressed out that way, or not necessarily stressed, but there's been, a lot of stress on their body. They're running, they're panting, they're tired. Or there's just 5 minutes of sweating bullets, for a dog who is working with the trainer for 5 minutes.
When you take a step, they can go with you and check in with you. If you want to fix
And then he does
activity,
his stupid fake out thing. I hate that he does that. That is just so. I don't know any other trainer that does that. And he may not know any other trainer that does that either, but that is just so. Just so stupid. Just so unfair
I
to the
could care
dog.
less whether your dog pulls you down the street or your dog freaks. It doesn't matter to me.
I care.
It's if you want it to go away. I could care less if your dog jumps all over you. I don't care in any way what your dog
I care. I care too much.
does to you. I don't want your dog to hurt you, but if you don't care, I don't care. But if you want the behavior to go away, then you have to draw clear lines in the sand of what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. Jumping, it is not acceptable for the two paws to touch you, in my opinion. But you decide. If it's not acceptable, make it not acceptable.
Well, you taught the dog to jump in the first place, so you can teach the dog not to jump in the second place. If you taught the dog to jump, which the dog learns to jump automatically, I mean, the dog learns to jump, and if it becomes an automatic behavior because you never stopped it before, or you don't care enough, or you don't have to be aggressive to teach a dog not to jump on you. If a dog has been jumping on you for 5 years and you finally decide, you know what, I've had enough, I want this dog to not jump on me, then it's going to take you more than 5 minutes to teach this dog not to jump on you. And it should take you more than 5 minutes to teach the dog not to jump on you, because that is being respectful to the dog that, hey, you know what, I have caused this problem, not necessarily Beckman, of course not Beckman, but I as the person have caused this dog this much time of practicing this behavior. I can at least take the time it takes to teach them not to jump on me in an appropriate manner, in a positive, a kind, respectful manner. Not disrespectful, like you just knee the dog in the chest, or you just pop him on the leash, or you just yank him, or you kick him under the chin, or knee him under the chin, or whatever.
Okay? Leash reactivity is a little different because they're out of their minds at the moment. But I'm telling you, put the leash on in the house, and then dog goes dut, dut, to the door. Why wouldn't they go dut, 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 to the other dog on a walk? Because you never tamped them down early.
Or because you never taught them, hey, I'm better than anything in this world. You never created that bond with them that, hey, I'm more important than anything in this world.
Rocket science to me. That's the thing. It doesn't seem hard to me. I don't know why it's so hard for people.
It's hard because people don't want to be cruel to their animal. People don't want to be aggressive or downright abusive to their animal. That's why, I don't know how it's not rocket science to him, but of course he doesn't want to admit to himself that he's being aggressive to animals, that he's being cruel and hurtful to animals, because then he would have to admit to himself that, yeah, I'm being cruel and in some cases downright abusive to animals. Nobody wants to admit that to themselves.
I put the leash on in the house, and I stand there, and then I take one step, dog goes to the end, I go bink, and I go back in the house. And I walk into their kitchen. Then I take another step towards the door, and dog goes, what the hell are we doing in the kitchen? And I go, that's your consequence, because you are going where you want to go. And then I walk towards the door, and then I open the door, and I go, okay, fly out the door. Dog does. There's no cue for flying out the door. And I go bink, and I go back into the kitchen.
No, it's not bink, it's pop. You pop them hard at the end of their leash, and then you bring them back, and you drag them back, and you pop them multiple times, and it's not just ever once. It's never just once. It's pop, 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 all the way back into the kitchen.
Dog going. The criteria is the dog to have freedom, smell, look, but they have to check in with me.
No, they really have no freedom to smell, a check, or look, or do anything else other than paying attention to you, because as soon as they're not paying attention to you, you sneak around, you stop, you pop, you do all that turn around and all that nonsense. They don't have any freedom. They have to constantly be paying attention to you, because otherwise they're going to get popped at the leash.
We don't get check-ins with you. Resource guarding, that was the other video I was trying to make. You can get bit with resource guarding.
Yeah.
It's a serious deal. I do shock and awe. Dog has something.
I do not agree with that. I think that is very dangerous to do the shock and awe method. You're going to get bitten eventually, if not downright immediately, if you use this kind of method. You're not teaching the dog to trust you. You're teaching the dog to not trust you. And so they may not do it with you, but they're going to do it with somebody else, or they may bite you anyway.
I go wham, and I clap and I yell as hard as I can until the dog goes, holy, and they go, ah, because no one's ever done that. You've never done one yell and clap at your dog? What?
That is just dangerous. I don't think you should be doing that. I think that's a very dangerous method to use If I'm using if I'm working with a dog with resource guarding, then I'm going to make sure that I gain the dog's trust. I'm going to toss treats away from the resource. I'm not going to start by giving them a marrow bone, where there's something really tasty inside. I'm going to start with the lower value reward or a treat or a bone or whatever it is. Probably start with a lower value bone, and I'm going to have a higher value reward. And I would toss the treat away from the bone. The dog goes for that, and I'm going to pick up the bone, put it back down, give it back to the dog. So the dog learns that the bone is not going away forever. Then I would repeat those processes or that process over and over again until I can, slowly toss the treat less and less far away. And so it's right next to the bone where the dog can allow me to touch the bone and pick up the bone. I mean, I looked at a video of Zach George's where he was talking about resource guarding, and I talked about my thoughts on that. I have videos of resource guarding. If I can remember to do it, I'll put one up here in the cards, or whatever they call this up here, showing how I work with resource guarding.
He's not doing something wrong? Why not? You can't yell at your dog. Sure you can.
You don't need to, though. Unless my dog is getting into a bloody fight, then yes, I'll raise my voice and I'll yell, but Ellie, please. Good girl. Then I'll raise my voice and yell, but until then, you don't need to do that, especially not for resource guarding, because guess what? You're going to have a trust issue with your dog if you do that. If you yell at your dog for just trying to protect a bone, then you're not going to get very far with your dog. You're going to have to rely on that method over and over and over again in order every time you want to get something from your dog. And then eventually that's going to stop working, and your dog is going to stop being surprised by that. Your dog is just he's going to make resource guarding worse. Your dog is just going to go over into the corner or hide under the bed, and then you can't slam something loud enough or hard enough to get them to drop the resource. It's just like with Ellie here. I'm looking at her. Whenever she is in my sister's room and we're trying to get her out, the more pressure you put on her, the more she gets feisty and the more she wants to fight, and she starts growling, and she starts, occasionally she'll hiss. She doesn't really know what hissing means. But she'll swipe and stuff, and the more pressure you put on a cat, which same thing with the dog, you put on a predator, more pressure you put on a predator, the more it's going to fight back, depending on the animal. If you put pressure on Adonis, for example, when he was still around, then he would just kind of give up and roll over. Oh my gosh, Ellie's going to be the end of me. Just keeps going back and forth. Mute mic, unmute mic. All right. With Adonis, he would just kind of roll over and say, okay, I give up. If you put enough pressure on him, then he would, give up. Or when in his younger days, then he would fight back. You do that with a dog, with the wrong dog, then that dog is going to bite you. His method here, his shock and awe surprise, is only going to work maybe once or twice. And after that, then your dog is going to stop reacting or stop responding by dropping the item. They're going to take that item and run, and then you're going to have to chase them, and it's going to make it worse and worse.
Dog's trying to bite you. You rescue him off the streets.
The dog doesn't care what you do for them. The dog cares what you do to them, not for them. They care how you act. So just because you took them off the street, you saved their life, you did all this, you give them a cushy bed, you give them this and that. The dog doesn't care. The dog cares what you do to them, not for them. And at the very least, that's the very least you could do for your dog, is give them an appropriate diet, not something that's cheap and basically like McDonald's. If you feed them the cheapest food that you can find and give them the barely any, water or any food. And just because you feed them and keep them alive doesn't mean that you can treat them however you want to. The least you could do is just, if you're going to have a pet, raise them to be, appropriately. Raise them appropriately and raise them with kindness, and not just, because, you're indebted to me. Now, you're indebted to me because I give you all of these things here that I'm going to list off. That's not how it works. You gave them
good food, you let them sleep in the bed with you, and then they growl at you?
It's because it's a trust issue. Just because you give them all those things doesn't mean that you're not, aggressive or abusive, or it doesn't mean that you're not, you can give them the nicest things in the world and still be abusive to them in training. Just like with horses, you can give them the nicest barns, the nicest hay, the nicest grain, the most expensive tack. The horse doesn't care about that. They care about what you do to them, not for them. They care about being a horse, which is out in a field with other horses, getting muddy and running around and horse playing and having good green grass and grazing, not being locked up all day in a stall with even with the nicest hay and the most expensive alfalfa and all these pallets and this and that. The horse doesn't care about that. That's not life for a horse. That's not love for a horse. Just like love for a dog is not having the nicest, home or the nicest dog house or the nicest this or the nicest that. They care what you do to them, not for them.
And you think that's unacceptable, but I'm not going to yell at my dog.
Yeah, because there's other options other than that, you dummy. There's so many other options that you can do that are safer, far more safer, or far more safe, sorry, than it would be to just yell at your dog and slam at the wall. That method is not going to work out in the long run.
It's one yell and I clap. Hey! I go, hey, and I clap. And the dog goes, oh my God. Then I grab the thing, then I eat the thing.
Which is just more dominance theory and more unnecessary thing that he's saying. He's just acting dominant to the dog. That's not going to help your dog trust anything. Your dog is going to fear you. If you want your dog to fear you, listen to Beckman.
Don't actually eat it. I pick it up and I act like I'm eating it because it's my thing. Because I gave this dog a good life.
The dog does not give a shit if you give them a good life or a poor life. It doesn't matter what you give your dog. They care how you treat them, not what you give them.
And it's unacceptable to growl at me. This is energy, sort of.
So he doesn't see it as a human problem that caused the dog to growl. He sees it as a dog problem. He blames the dog for wanting to growl at him versus, oh, I caused this dog to growl because of either I didn't teach them to trust me enough, either I didn't teach them to give up a bone because I didn't teach them, not force them. I didn't teach them to be able to give up a bone and know that it's coming back, that it's not going away forever. That's the reason why dogs generally resource guard, is because they feel like it's going away and it's not coming back, or because people keep taking it away. Or I had a family cat, TJ, who would resource guard mice, little toy mice. My sister and I would play, keep away from him. Well, not really keep away. We would toss it back and forth, and he would play with it. So we would toss it back and forth, and he would go chasing after it. But then once he caught it, he went in the corner and he started growling and hissing. He was resource guarding that mouse because to him, we were playing keep away from him. We thought it was a game that he was enjoying, that he would like chasing the mouse, going back and forth. And then, occasionally he would get it, and then we would take it, we would go get it again from him. When he would drop it, we would take it, and then we would go and play, back and forth again. To him, we were playing keep away, and he didn't like it. And so he was showing us that. So did we growl at him? Growl at him. Of course we didn't growl at him. Did we yell at him? Did we scream at him? No, we left him alone. And we said, okay, we won't do that anymore because he doesn't like that game. He thinks that he's losing his toy. Cats are great teachers. Dogs are great teachers. If you're, that's why he probably doesn't have a cat, because he wouldn't ever be able to use his techniques on a cat ever, because he would be scratched up to hell if he ever tried that technique that he does on dogs with cats.
An attitude. This is how you got to be if you want to get rid of a behavior. And it's
not at all. No, that is not at all how you have to be. You don't have to be anything. You don't have to be anything he says. You don't have to be anything I say. You can be something in between. You can be either or. You don't have to be anything that he says in order to get a behavior to change. Will his method change a behavior? It will. Over the long run, I don't know. Over the short run, it will change. But it's how you teach your animals to change. That is the important part.
Hard, actually. It's not that hard at all.
No, it is for if you don't want to be cruel and unnecessarily, nasty to your dog, then it is very hard for a lot of people to not want to be abusive to their dog or just aggressive to their dog.
Follow up and think like a dog. And it's okay.
But he's not thinking like a dog, and it doesn't matter. You're not a dog. You need to think like, I tell people, yes, think like a dog, in the sense of behavior and body language and understanding dogs. But really, we are humans that are trying to think like the way we think dogs think. Just you can think like a dog, but you don't have to be, dogs are just like anything else in the world, selfish, where, hey, if I can growl at you, I can bite at you, I can attack you, and you leave the bone alone, then I'm going to do that. Humans don't need to do that. Dogs also sniff each other's asses. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm not going to be smelling for anal glands just to say hello, howdy do. So think like a dog, but also don't. Think like a human who is trying to, who understands positive reinforcement with their dog.
To say, I gave you a good life, you cannot do that to me.
No, that's just baloney.
I know pits and all these dogs, they launch themselves at people. And
now that's a problem, and you can teach that through positive reinforcement not to do that. You can teach the dog not to do that by making sure that they're on leash, by making sure that they're not, you're behind a fence when they have so much pent up energy and they feel like they need to express it by launching off of people and launching off of other things. Then you can teach that otherwise. You can teach that using positive reinforcement in other manners than being aggressive and just popping them on the leash or just kicking them or kneeing them or anything else like that. Like let them get their energy out otherwise. They need to get their energy out in some way, and they can do that without you being there to be launched off of.
Hit people. And you know why they do it? Because they're a-holes.
No, they're not assholes. You're the asshole. They do it because it's fun, because there hasn't been circumstances, or corrections, or they haven't been taught otherwise not to do it. They haven't been taught extinction, so that way they stop doing it, so that way that behavior goes extinct, and then another behavior, they haven't been taught an alternate behavior to do other than launching off of a person. Of course, it's going to be fun for them. They have like launching. They have a sport where a dog runs and launches off of something, that pops a ball out, and they run after a ball and they go and get the ball. I can't remember what the name of that sport is, but I'm sure people can let me know in the comments below. But there's sports for that where dogs can enjoy launching off of something. It's going to be fun for them. But if you teach them an alternate behavior that is more fun, this behavior will go extinct. It's not because they're a-holes. Again, he's labeling it a dog problem, not a human problem.
Because they want to hit you and move you.
No, they don't. They don't want to hit you and move you. They want to jump off of you because it's fun for them to launch off of something. If you're soft and comfortable, they don't want to launch off a tree. I mean, some dogs will.
You've got to accept real life.
But that's not real life. That's through his filter, through his own filter. Just like this is through my filter. And you can have your own filter. There's the filters of life, and then there's the facts of life.
Is a reason that dogs with bull in their name hit you isn't because of, sometimes it's because of love, sometimes they like to hit things. And when those things move, they go, yeah, I'm stronger than them. It's a thing. You can act like it's not a thing all you want. Trainers can tell you all kinds of things. That is a thing. So,
through his own filter,
they take the hit on jumping. I see it coming. I start to move forward. I strengthen up, and they jump into me, and I keep moving, and they don't keep moving. And they literally, dogs with bull in their name, any dog, French bulldog, American bulldog, pit bull, anything with bull in its name, bull mastiff, the minute you show them that you are stronger than them, they change. So that is energy, the way to think about owning your dog, the way not to think about owning your dog. And that is the video.
So that's the video. I disagree with a lot of what he says as usual. Let me know what you think of this video. Go say how to do to your little critters. Say how to do for me. Give them some kind of love and they appreciate. Until next time, practice peace, patience, and positivity.